At Advent time, then we decided to come up with a theme for Advent. And that first theme is probably my favorite. And it was the puzzle pieces. How do we all fit into God's plan? And then we took that theme and we took it the next step further in Lent, and we did the tapestry of love. And I love the tapestry idea because with the puzzle piece, you can actually remove a piece of the puzzle. But if you think about a tapestry, how everything's all interwoven and connected, each piece touching other pieces, it's much harder and difficult to remove, but we're all connected. So I thought about all that and I looked at the Bible. The Bible is made up of thousands and millions of men and women who all said the exact same thing. How do I fit in to God's big plan? You know, it started all the way back in Genesis with Adam and Eve. After the fall, after they sinned and they were kicked out of the beautiful Garden of Eden, and they found themselves still, though, under the umbrella of God's grace, asking, now where do we fit in? And through Adam and Eve's children, Noah, God saved Noah, one big piece of the puzzle that nobody saw coming. Noah wondered, how do I really fit in? Because I don't fit into this world. Everybody's mocking me. Everybody's ridiculing me. But yet God knows that I somehow make this part of the picture right. In fact, Noah is probably the bottom of the rainbow in that picture. And then you see Abraham and all of his descendants, Isaac, Jacob, the man who wrestled with God and was a patriarch of all the Israelites. All 12 tribes came from Jacob. That one puzzle piece. And yet, everybody spurred from him. Joseph, the youngest, the one most ridiculed, the one beaten up on, the one made fun of by his brothers, the one that was even thrown into a hole and sold to his cousins as a slave. The one that his brothers were sure God was up there snipping the pieces to make him fit. And yet God made Joseph perfect. God had a plan. Joseph was a big puzzle piece to save his whole family and the Israelites during the time of drought. We see that the Israelites continued to sin. They lost God. They forgot about God. But God had not forgotten them. No, his love and grace still carried through. And there was another piece to the puzzle that people didn't see coming, and that piece was a little baby who was thrown in a basket. Raised by the Pharaoh's daughter, not Egyptian, but now no really longer Israelite. We have a man who didn't know where he fit into anything, let alone God's plan. He didn't even fit into the culture. He didn't even know who he was anymore once he found out that he was not Egyptian. And when God called him from that burning bush, Moses said, "Oh, you got the wrong piece. I can't speak. I'm not a leader. I'm not a nobody. Why are you picking on me?" God saw that piece of the puzzle, which was a perfect fit. But he didn't make him do it alone. No, he brought along his brother Aaron and his sister Miriam to help out in their connection. And as Moses freed the people, the Israelites, from Pharaoh's army, and led them across dry land, he didn't get to make it to the promised land. God had another piece of the puzzle come along. And that piece was Joshua. And Joshua took those people into that promised land, and from village to village, including Jericho, he made him a mighty warrior. But you know, if you remember, there was another special piece to the puzzle that nobody would have thought about in a town like Jericho. In a town that was about to be decimated and fallen flat, there was a woman by the name of Rahab. Oh yes, Rahab, a prostitute. One that definitely would not have fit the puzzle of God's picture, you would have thought. And yet, God had seen her. God knew her heart, and God spared her and saved her and her whole family. Well, it sounds like a nice little off story, but we're going to see Rahab come back into the picture a little later. Her piece is going to connect to another very interesting piece. Well, the Israelites go on, and God sends them judges. Now, as you know, men were considered at the top of the totem pole, and women were not considered very worthy at all. But who should God pick to be the very first judge of all the Israelites but a woman named Deborah? That's right. Nobody saw that piece of the puzzle coming. And I'm sure there were many times when Deborah sat under that tree listening to dispute after dispute, argument after argument, going, God, where do I fit in? Did you really want me? And then God sent Samson and Gideon, a scared little farmer. One that had never held a sword in his life, and the angel shows up and says, Gideon, mighty warrior of God. And Gideon's little puzzle piece, and his clay pots, and his torches, fit right into the piece, showing that God was the one who did the conquering. Well, after the judges, the Israelites decided that they wanted a king. They wanted to be just like everybody else. And so God brought Saul's little piece of the puzzle in after Samson and Samuel and Eli. And so we have Saul as the first king. But then there was another young boy. This little piece of the puzzle was a pretty big piece. There's a little shepherd, again, out of the outcast of the family, because he was the youngest. God had special plans. And he was anointed king over Israel. And that little boy grew up, and he slayed a giant. And he slayed many giants in his life. And he took over the throne of all of Israel. Yet he was human. And his piece had been used in and out of that puzzle quite a few times, and it got a little rough around the edges. But even in those dark times and those poor decisions, God still was connecting pieces. Because it was through Bathsheba that King David bore a son named Solomon. And as much as David wanted to build God this glorious temple, God said, no, it's going to be your son. And so Solomon built that temple, and he wrote Proverbs, and he wrote Ecclesiastes. And God continued to put those pieces down through the prophets, through the men and women who trusted God, who wondered, how do I fit in? Jonah, Isaiah, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those that God came in and saved them from the fiery furnace and the lion's den. And yet their little pieces of the puzzle, guess what? They shook up more pieces that we haven't even seen put together yet. It was through Isaiah and Daniel who tell of the end times. And all those pieces have not been laid down. Life continues to go. And then God sent the oddest piece of the puzzle that nobody saw coming. And that was his son. That white piece. That came down from glory, and it touched the lives of a young woman and a young man. Now that's where I picked up with you guys, in those puzzle pieces. A young woman by the name of Mary could not understand why God would pick a woman like her. Why her? Why me? I'm a nobody. And yet God continued to put her pieces together throughout her life, and he chose her to be the mother of his son. And Joseph was handpicked from before birth to be the father to raise up his son, to be the godly man and the godly example that Jesus would have to model. The Bible is full of men and women. 12 more men show up on the scene, disciples, that I can guarantee you never saw their pieces coming into that picture. If you could paint a picture of the Bible, how would you do it? Would you have the garden over here? Would you have the rainbow and water up here? Would you have the men and women? Abraham with the rock, Joseph with the Pharaoh, Moses with the bush, or the Red Sea? Would you have Jonah with the whale? Would you have all that water? Think about that. Starting with the garden. The garden is between 4 rivers. Can you see the living water that Jesus talks about? Threaded through all of the scriptures. From the Old Testament all the way to the New Testament, to the woman sitting at the well, and Jesus says, if you drink from my water, you will never thirst again. Jesus was constantly coming to the outcast, to the people who didn't even think that they were a piece of the puzzle, and showing them how each and every one was just as important as everyone else that was created. Well, next week, we're going to look at some of those pieces that John talks about in Revelation. We're going to talk about the pictures that he paints of what the new heaven and the new earth look like. See, God's not done creating. We look at here and we go, gee, some days we wonder, is this all there is? Is there a God? Do you really exist? How do I fit in? How do all these bad things keep happening? Show me what your picture looks like. And all we have to do is open the pages. And God shows us in living color not only what those little pictures look like, but how they connect into his big picture. And the coolest part is how each and every one of us fit right in. That water continues to run all the way to the very end of Revelation. I don't know how many of you remember this, but it is the river of life that runs through the new heaven and the new earth. God's love runs through each and every one of you. Each and every one of us. He has never made a mistake, and he will never make a mistake. Each of you were created perfect. I know, a lot of us don't like the way we look. A lot of us don't like our size. A lot of us don't like our hair color, or our eye color. I guess it depends on the bottle number, right? We're so apt to pick apart every little detail that we don't like about ourselves, or we don't like about our life. And we forget to look at the big picture. We forget to look at how God is bringing different people into your life every day, every week, every year for you to touch. To let them know about him. And to let them hook up to that water, that river of life. So my challenge to you is, if you've been feeling a little lately like you don't fit in, maybe you don't know where God's plan is for you, or maybe even for the church, or you're looking at it as a struggle, I want you to look at it as a possibility. I want you to get excited about the things and the people that God is going to come into your path, and he is going to plug those pieces right in. And I want you to sit back and just wait to watch the unbelievable blessings that he is going to pour in on each and every one of you. This church as a whole. Because again, you're all created perfect. Even though we don't live in a perfect world, God is the master puzzle maker.